Hi, everyone, and welcome to our latest BookTrib After Dark chat, a Merrill Moss Media production. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with #1 New York Times and international bestselling author Jennifer Armentrout. Her latest novella, Dream of You, is part of the 1001 Dark Nights anthology. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jennifer. It's great to have you here.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to be here. So
Awesome.
is Loki.
So, Mr. Pop, who we can't see at the moment, but he is snuggled up
No.
right next to you. So before we start the questions and answers, can you tell us a bit more about Dream of You?
Dream of You is actually a part of the Wait for You series. So it
Hmm.
follows Reese, who is in Fall with Me, his older
Right.
brother Colton, and Abby, who is a book editor.
Yeah.
And they actually were in school together, in high school together. Abby always had a crush on Colton, but it was, she was with somebody and it just never happened. And so they kind of reconnect after she witnesses a crime in Philadelphia. And it basically, the story I think is really close to my heart because Abby, I think, is like most women when you stop seeing yourself as somebody attractive and you have to
Hmm.
like kind of reconnect with who you are and your body and your confidence. So Abby, I think, she struggles with that. And it was, a very fun book to write just because I think a lot of women, no matter their shape, size, whatever, can relate to
Yeah,
that and struggling with that. And it was also fun to work in
absolutely.
authors I know into the book.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So Colton Andrews comes back from some past things that you've written. Why did you decide to bring him back for this novella? Was he just speaking to you? Did you just need to do something new with his character? How did you know that that was the character?
I always planned to write a story about Colton. The moment that and I introduced him as Reese's older brother, I knew I kind of wanted to do something with him. So
Yeah.
when I started to do the 1001 Dark Nights, it worked out perfectly to
Hmm.
do the story for Colton.
Absolutely. And speaking of 1001 Dark Nights, how did you get involved with this whole project? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, last year I was at a book convention and everybody was talking about working with 1001 Dark Nights. And I was like, I want to work with 1001 Dark Nights. I was a big fan of the authors that were a part of it. So,
Hmm.
that had a lot to do with like kind of noticing it. And a
Yeah.
couple of my friends were starting to write for them. So, I kind of, I think, was like, somebody talk to Liz for me. And then I talked to Liz and
That's
they
amazing.
decided to bring me on.
Now, do you have any favorite authors you can tell us from 1001 Dark Nights? Have you read any of their anthology collections? Is there anyone that
Oh my
sticks
gosh.
out to you?
Yes, I'm a huge fan of Laura Adrian, her Midnight Breed series. So I'm
Yeah.
always excited when I see there's another one of them. A big fan of Larissa Ione. Am I saying her
Hmm.
last name right? Okay. Yes, I'm a
Yep.
huge fan of
Uh,
her. And so I'm always excited when I see that she's doing something in the Demonica series or the
yeah.
Lords of the Four Horsemen series.
Yep.
Shayla Black, Tessa
Hmm.
Bailey, Laura Kay. I mean, I could keep going. They've got a great
Right.
list of authors.
Hmm. Now, you
Christopher
write a lot
Rice.
of different. Yes,
Sorry.
yes, absolutely. We've interviewed a lot of them, and we're interviewing him in the future. We're very excited about that. Um, so you write YA, paranormal, science fiction, fantasy, contemporary romance, a bunch of different stuff. So what genre did you first start writing, and when did you kind of begin to branch out into all these different things?
My first genre that I wrote was YA, young adult paranormal. I think paranormal is
Um,
actually like, that's my probably my more favorite genre, mainly because
Yeah,
you get to create a whole world. You can do
yeah.
whatever you want within the world, you create it, so that's super fun. Then I
Hmm.
branched out into YA contemporary. Don't Look
Great.
Back was actually the first contemporary book I wrote. It was published just last year, but it was one of my first. And then I started writing The Gamble Brothers, which is adult contemporary. And then from
Right.
there, I wrote New Adult, which I kind of jumped around, but I like being able to write across multiple genres because it
Hmm.
allows me to not get bored or burned out writing one thing all the time.
Exactly.
So.
And you have your adult and new adult contemporary and paranormal romance, and you also publish under the name J.Lynn. When did you decide to start doing that? Was that like your decision, or how did you come to kind of, start that?
It actually started with one of my publishers. They wanted to, because just shelf space, like booksellers don't like, they won't carry a lot of books by the same author.
Hmm.
They just don't have the shelf space. So we decided to go with the pen name Jalen, and the pen name was supposed to also symbolize more mature content in the
Hmm.
book. And at first, I didn't cop up to writing underneath Jalen. I didn't say anything about it.
Yeah.
But people found out, like, before the book even published, they realized that I was Jalen. So once they realized that, then we used it on the covers to symbolize that the book has more mature content than my YA might typically have.
Right. Now, since this latest book has come out, have any fans suggested a dream cast for Colton and Abby? Have you heard any good ones so far?
I, I see sometimes like a lot of people will create teaser images of, and they use
Yeah, those
celebrities
are
or
awesome.
models that they like. I've seen a lot of Nick Bateman coming through my teaser image thing, and he's very attractive. I am not complaining about
Yeah.
that. I don't know. I really haven't seen as much. I'm not, and if I have, I may not recognize who it is. I'm still
Right.
stuck like in what was attractive people in the 90s and 2000s, or Theo
Me
James.
too.
That's my response for everything, Theo James.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Leah has a question, one of our viewers, about your writing process and kind of your schedule. She says, do you write every day, and what is your writing schedule like when you're on deadline?
I am constantly on deadline because I have
Hmm.
so many contracts in the air right now. I write every day for about, I mean, 7 days a week, about 8 to 10 hours a day. Now, I don't write straight 8 to 10 hours. There's a lot of procrastination involved during that 8 to 10 hours.
Right,
But when I'm on a deadline, I'm writing every single day, and it's 8 to 10 hours a day.
right. And Leah wants to know, do you feel any added pressure to write something better than your last work, or do you kind of just go with it and
Always. I mean, you always feel pressure, especially when you write a lot. When you're
right?
prolific and you write a lot of books, I sometimes think there's even more pressure because there is this thought process that if you write fast, you're not writing quality. Like there are some people who say that. Like they say that you cannot write a good book in a month to 2 months. So sometimes you feel like, there is more scrutiny because they're like, how can
Yeah,
someone write that much and still, provide something that's decent or good or whatever. So there's always that
totally.
pressure that, someone's going to say, she's writing too much or she needs to take a break. And I kind of have this
Hmm.
mantra, it's on my board in the back behind me is you haven't written. So I believe that I try to approach each book as it being the best book that I can write, and it has to be better than the book before. So,
Hmm. That's awesome. That's a good mantra to have. Kristen wants to know, do you listen to any music while writing this book, this particular one? Was there anything that got you in the mood kind of for the characters?
oh gosh, there was a song, and now I can't think of what it was. There was a song that actually kind of inspired Abby's kind of confidence. I can't think what it is. I don't listen to music a lot when I write. I only kind of listen to music when I'm writing like a fight scene,
Yeah.
something like that. But in terms of everything else, I usually have like The Walking Dead or some TV
Right.
on in the background.
Hmm. Absolutely. I'm a big fan of The Walking Dead as well, and there's a lot of different zombie, movies and shows out there. What are some of your favorite, books and movies in the zombie realm?
In the zombie realm, I don't
Hmm.
read a lot of zombie books.
Hmm.
I mean, I read the comics, or the graphic novels for The Walking Dead, but I don't read a lot of zombie books mainly because to me, it's not the same thing as watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly
Yeah.
enough, when I was a kid, I was scared to death of zombies. My mom let me watch The Night of the Living Dead when I was
Oh, good.
7 or 8, and it
Yeah.
traumatized me. I was scared to death of them. So I don't know how I ended up so fascinated with them. But I like the old George Romero movies. One of my
Yeah.
favorite zombie movies is Zombieland, 28
Yes.
Days Later,
Mm-hmm.
those kind. I like the real cheesy ones on Sci-Fi Channel, like
Right.
Zombie Apocalypse. And you're just like, oh, this is
Exactly.
gonna be bad.
Yep. Yep. There's iZombie too, which we like here.
Yeah, I haven't watched that yet. I gotta
It's
watch
the
that.
Yeah. And also I noticed Gina Showalter, her new cover is pretty awesome.
Alice in
Like
Zombieland. That is a great
yeah.
series. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Now, did you have a feeling, and I want to just bring up the Lux series because I find it so fascinating. While you were writing that series, did you have a feeling that it was going to be something really special? Like, was there just something about it, or,
No. When I wrote the Lux
Yeah.
series, I was like, no one is gonna read this. When I wrote Obsidian, I was like, no one's gonna read this. This has aliens in high school, and I was like, really? And I guess the reason why is because I wrote half the book not knowing what the aliens look like. I could not come up with an
Wow.
alien, what they look like. So I kept picturing these giant, like Independence Day insects, like running around eating people. And I was like, that's just not sexy.
Hmm.
So then I came up with, they're made of light because of the movie Cocoon when they had the little glowing pods in the pool. And I was like, okay. So I was like, they're made of light. Like, really? Like, I was like, someone's got to call me on this. Like, there's just a weird, like, I just didn't. But, come to think of it, I think the reason why Obsidian and the Lux series became what it was is probably because there was no pressure when I was writing that. There was no
Oh, yeah.
expectation. I wrote it,
Hmm.
I didn't think anybody was going to read it. And
Hmm.
so it was, I think there is, when you don't have that pressure, sometimes you perform better because you're
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
writing what you want to write. And,
Hmm.
you don't have any voices in your head really telling you what to do. So, but I had no idea. I thought no one was going to read that series
Wow.
whatsoever.
That's awesome. Well, they did. What's
Yes.
the latest update with just it's been optioned for film. I know eventually something's happening. What's the latest with that?
There is definitely things happening. I'm just not allowed to share anything at this
Ah.
point. But I
Hmm.
can definitely say that there is stuff happening, and I've been told that there should be an announcement but it is
Oh,
Hollywood, so Hollywood soon is not our definition of soon.
right.
So, but I know
Soon
they're
is two
preparing to
years.
make an
Yeah.
announcement. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Absolutely fantastic. Now, you are an international best-selling author. So what's your fandom like overseas in comparison to here's? What's like, any differences in what people tend to read there? Do they have any favorites that you wouldn't expect?
I think overseas, I think paranormal is actually still very big overseas.
Yeah.
I think they're also very big in print overseas.
Hmm.
Digital ebooks have not picked up quite as much as they have in the US.
Right.
So, you like for my new adult series, it's mostly digital in the US, but in Germany and Italy, for example, it sells, a ton of print. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I think their reading habits are different. I do
Right.
think there's certain countries where, the fans are like so much more passionate. Sometimes I
Yeah.
can tell exactly what country they're from. They're just so much more passionate. They're so much more into it.
Die Hard.
And
Yeah.
and so I think they definitely you just I think when you write a book, you don't ever, I mean, at least when you're starting out, you never think that somebody in Argentina or somebody in Germany or
Yeah.
somebody in Israel is going to be reading your book in their language and,
Yeah.
and then contacting you. So it's amazing that when that does happen.
That's incredible. And just in terms of your book covers, because there's so many interesting ones, what are some of like your favorites just from, recent releases, past releases that kind of stick out in your mind?
One of my favorite covers was always Don't Look Back because it was so different, and you could tell that cover
Hmm.
designer read that book because they pulled something out of that book that actually was important towards the end of the book.
Right.
And it was creepy. They actually, when they revealed it, they did it as an animated GIF. So it was a really creepy thing
Oh,
they
that's
did.
awesome.
I love that cover. The original Way For You cover I
Yeah.
loved. Um, Wicket is one of my favorite covers because it's underwater and it's just underwater covers are beautiful. And some of my favorite covers are also the Titan series. Like the
Hmm.
Power, I really like that cover. It's very simple, but I really like that about it. And
Hmm.
Scorched was really pretty, I think.
Awesome. Now, Natalie has a question, pretty, general question that we always like to ask. When did you know you wanted to be a writer? Did you always kind of write? Was it something that it kind of dawned on you one day?
I always wanted to be a writer. When I was younger, I used to write poems on my bedroom walls in permanent markers.
Awesome.
Uh, they were really bad poems. They were terrible. And I wrote my first book when I was 14. I wrote it in
Awesome.
algebra class, the whole entire book, longhand. I ended up having to take
Wow.
remedial math in college, so I don't suggest doing that. But I always wanted to be a writer. I think it was, I mean, it
Hmm.
was, I grew up in a small town and that
Yeah.
there was nothing to do. And you would pass your days away in the evenings and during the summer reading books. So it was,
Hmm.
and I think one of the first books that really made me cry, that broke my heart, is it made me was like, wow, to make somebody feel something like that, I want to be able to do that one day, not necessarily break people's hearts to make them cry, but to
Yeah.
invoke those types of emotions from them.
Emotion. Yeah. That's awesome. Now, Susan has a question. If you could write a book with any other author, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I think if I could ever, I mean, there's a lot of authors I would love to write with, but I think if
Hmm.
I had to pick one, it would be two authors. And the reason being is because they are the reason why I'm an author today. It would
Awesome.
be Richie Cusick, who wrote a bunch of YA books when I was 14, YA
Hmm.
standalones, The Lifeguard, Trick or Treat, Silent Hill. I mean, they were just great.
Yeah.
And LJ Smith, when Vampire Diaries and The Secret Circle and The Forbidden Game, that came out when I was a teenager. So
Hmm.
those were the reasons why I wanted to be an author, was because of
Yeah.
those, and Christopher Pike, all of them. So if I could pick, it would be either Richie Cusick or LJ Smith.
Awesome. Now, TV show related, Kate wants to know, are there any new shows out there that you're totally geeking out over?
I am super excited about Fear the Walking Dead. That
Yeah.
trailer looks amazing. I'm like, my
Hmm.
favorite part about any type of apocalypse is the apocalypse happening. That's my
Yeah.
favorite part. And I hate when books and TV shows and movies skip that part. No, I want to see
Exactly.
civilization fall apart. I want to see that.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about that. I
Hmm.
love Supernatural. I'm a huge Supernatural
Hmm.
fan. I've been watching
Yeah.
that since season one came on. Um,
Awesome.
I kind of check in and out of Game of Thrones. Like every time I turn it on, there's something disgusting happening to a woman, or the entire
I
cast just
know.
got killed in 5 seconds, and I'm like, what just happened here? So, but I
Yeah.
did watch for the dragons. I always try to search when the dragons are going to be on the
Oh.
show, and that's about it. Um, what else? Oh, I have really bad TV taste. I used to love watching Toddlers and Tiaras.
It's
Don't know
pretty
why.
entertaining. It can
I
be.
couldn't help it. I'm like, these poor kids. I love Dance Moms. I'll be watching that tonight. It's on at 9 o'clock.
You're like, I'm
I'm
watching
now, yeah, I'm now obsessed with Chrisley Knows Best,
it.
the
Hmm.
Todd Chrisley family. It's a reality show. Like I do. I have
Yep.
poor watching TV taste. It's bad.
No, oh my gosh. Susan has a question about Gray, and we know, like, there's been a lot in the media lately about, E.L. James and everything. So what do you think of Gray? What do you think of that idea? That's
Well, I
confusing.
mean, for one thing, it's a POV flip. So, I mean, I
Mhm.
saw some people saying that why would anybody flip POV? Because it's like you're making a run for the money. Um, People have been flipping POVs for years, okay?
Right.
And a lot of times people flip POVs because the fans continuously ask for that. I have flipped
Exactly.
POVs for 3 to 4 years, so I see absolutely nothing wrong with it. And I have met E.L. James multiple times, and she is one of the nicest women that you could ever
Yeah.
meet. And at RT this year, um, she walked into the hotel by herself, and I swear to you, was stopped about 100 times by people. And that's the smile on her face did not fade once. She took pictures. I mean, you can't say that a lot about a lot of authors less successful than her would not be
Yeah.
that open and friendly as she is. And
That's what everyone says
um,
about her. I've heard that a
yeah.
lot. Yeah.
And and it's people don't have to like books, they don't have to like subject matter,
Exactly.
but still it's I'm okay with it. More power to her and
Yeah.
to the series and to the readers because it brings more readers back to romance. So
Exactly. Absolutely. Now, speaking of seeing her at, writers' conferences and stuff, do you have any fun events coming up, writers' conferences, book signings that we should know about?
yes, I'm actually leaving tomorrow. I'm heading to
Awesome.
Dallas for a YA event at the Irving Public Library. I think the
Cool.
7 o'clock one is open to the public. There's something happening during the day that's for the teens there. And then I
Mhm.
leave Dallas and I go straight from Dallas to Vegas for Love in Vegas this weekend. So if you're
Cool.
interested in going to Love in Vegas, there is dozens of authors. A lot of the cover models are going to be there. Drew
Ooh.
Leidy, who is Seth on my covers, will be there. You can go and look at how to get in. It's a big event, over 1,000 readers attend it.
Wow.
Then I'll be in San Francisco August the 9th, I think. You can look at my events page on my website because I might have some of those dates wrong, but I do have a couple more events coming up.
Lots of stuff. Have you met any of
Mhm.
your cover models? I'm always curious to know
Oh
that.
yeah, I was like one of the first authors. Just want to say that one of the first authors to do signings with my cover models. I did
I didn't
a
know that.
tour with Peppy, who's on the Lux series back in
That's
2012.
awesome.
And it was super fun. And so I've
Yeah.
met all of my cover models. Drew, I do events with. He's at a Polycon. He'll be at a Polycon again this year. Um,
Yeah.
the Peppy, I went on tour with him. I do signings with him, and he is Damon Black on the Lux series books.
Right.
Justin, who is on Wicket, I've met him, and he's super
Hmm.
nice. Adam, who is on my Frigid cover, I've talked to quite a bit, but he does a lot of MTV shows now, so I don't do a lot of, you know, events with him. He's kind of out there doing his
Not a
own
big
thing.
deal.
Yeah,
That's
kind of on
awesome.
MTV, whatever.
That's a genius idea, though. I didn't even really think that authors did that, and that's an awesome idea.
I know, I
Um,
sound so terrible being like, I was one of the first, but damn it, I was one of the first.
you're like, I brought them with me. We had fun.
I brought them all the
That's
way from
amazing.
Hungary.
That's amazing. Frankie wants to know what's the most positive thing that you take away from writing books?
I think one of the most positive, I mean, there's a lot of positive. I mean, you're impacting people's lives. I think I write fluff. I mean, for the most part, I do. I write what I call brain candy, and I think brain candy is one of the most undervalued and underestimated things out there because it
Hmm.
does still affect people's lives. It still changes them. And when you get emails from readers who are depressed or who have,
Yeah,
they're not happy with their lives and they contact you because they read your book and it helped them forget their problems for a short time.
right.
There, it's very grounding. Like you don't realize your impact that you have on people. So that alone is so positive. I think also knowing that I'm leaving something behind. Like,
Right.
when I'm done and gone, there's something that will be here. that
Yeah.
will live on, at
Yeah.
some point. So I
For
think
others to
that is a
enjoy.
very positive thing for me.
That's amazing. Um, Now, Jennifer wants to know, have your stories changed drastically since you started writing years ago? Is there anything that you kind of noticed that's changed?
I think some of my writing style has changed a little bit just because you improve over time and your writing
Mhm.
style I think does fluctuate and change. But I mean I still like the I write what I want to read. So there's always the same
Right.
themes and plot, like not plots, but themes. Like there's certain things I like to read, and that's always going to be probably in my book. So I don't think that has changed.
Right. Now, Natalie has a question about what's coming up next. Is there anything else that you're working on now, and can you tell us a little bit about it? Because we're dying to
Yes, I
know.
am working I'm working on The Problem with Forever. That
Mhm.
is a YA contemporary that comes out next year in June through Harlequin Teen.
Awesome.
Every Last Breath, which is the last book in the Dark Elements series, comes out July 28th. So I'm super excited about that. And I hope readers are
Fantastic.
happy with that. And then Oblivion comes out which is the Damon POV flip of Obsidian, Onyx, and Opal in one book. So there's three books in one.
Wow.
Comes out in December. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. So we have lots to look forward to. And tell us where you are on social media. I'm sure you're all over the place on Facebook, Twitter. But if anyone doesn't know your pages, can you share with us?
I'm on I'm on Twitter as JL Armentrout on Twitter. On
Awesome.
Facebook, it's Jennifer L. Armentrout.
Hmm.
I'm on Instagram, author JL Armentrout. I do tend to forget that I have Instagram sometimes, so I don't post, and then all suddenly I post like five pictures in one day.
Yep. Yep. I
But
think that's
it's
how it goes on there, right?
yeah, I just forget I
Right.
have it. I'm like, oh, I could have Instagrammed this.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's the main sites where they can catch me. And then of course my website, jenniferarmentrout.com, where there's a
Cool.
slew of information, extra scenes, bonus scenes, that kind of stuff.
Events and stuff. Amazing. Now, Kate has an interesting question. Do you approach love scenes differently from your other scenes? Is there like a build up to it? How do you kind of do that?
I always like for there to be tension building up to a love scene.
Hmm.
I lose interest if characters are having sex immediately in a book. I know that sounds terrible, but I tend to lose interest
Yeah.
unless there's something else going on. So I mean,
Right.
there are times around that where I still will be interested. But I like tension. I like the build up. So I approach love
Hmm.
scenes
Absolutely.
with a lot of build up. I want the readers to be like, oh my God, just do it. Like I want them to be feeling that so that the payoff is there. So when it finally does happen, the
Yeah,
payoff is actually there for them.
totally. We just had a new question come in from Liv, and she says, will you visit the set of Obsidian or Covenant film TV sets once they are underway?
I
Excited.
better.
Yeah.
I want
They
to.
better invite you
I mean, I
over.
would. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I would. Yeah, they would have me there. They would let me come in and visit the set,
Hmm.
and that kind of stuff. So it would be very cool, I think, to see that happening. I mean, I think that'd just be one of those moments where it just has to be so incredibly surreal to see
Yeah.
your book coming to life and there's
Yeah.
people portraying them. That has to be just insane to see.
Yeah. Like unreal. Well, that is super exciting news. And unfortunately, we've come to the end of our time. But I just wanted to thank you again for coming to chat with us. And,
Thank you for having
we'd
me.
love to have you again. And we always love our 1001 Dark Nights book trip after dark chats. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Take care.